Hi, welcome to the Kitchen Shrink, where real talk meets real life. We're Kat and Cal, two therapists helping you make sense of relationships, emotions, and everything in between. Pull up a chair. Let's sort through it together.
Hey everybody, here's our listener's question for today's episode. Hey guys, I need some help. I'm 26 and I love my parents, but they still treat me like I'm 16. My mom calls me multiple times a day and gets deeply offended if I don't answer, and my dad constantly gives unsolicited advice on my finances and on my future. Every time I try to set a boundary, they guilt trip me and say I'm being ungrateful. How do I navigate this? Oh, that's a great question. I'm so glad you wrote in today. I think it's interesting as a parent of three, I feel like we kind of go from being their manager, when they're home and they're in school and high school, we go from being their manager, we're there with them, that we give them advice, we keep them on track. Once they move out, I kind of feel like we become their consultant, right? Like I'm here for you if you need me, but I'm going to let you, have logical consequences and make those decisions that'll help you grow and mature into adulthood. This particular listener, it sounds like those lines have been blurred a little bit. So
yeah, and we have parents that sometimes struggle with that transition, that like fear of being irrelevant or difficulty to adjusting or changing those roles.
Right. Yeah,
so
I think it
anxiety over.
Yeah, she says mom gets offended. What feels as a parent like our kids don't care about us anymore is honestly, you raise them and you want them to fly the nest and get out there and do the thing, and then when they actually do it, there can definitely be some grief and loss around that. So notice that it's okay to feel sad about that. What's not okay is to still stay in that manager role and overdo and overfunction in your kid's life, because you're clipping their wings. They're not going to experience or grow or learn some of those. I love the logical consequences. You just want to take the emotion out and let them learn sometimes the hard way. If you don't let them do that and you're constantly in their lane trying to help them and show them what to do, especially if it's unsolicited advice, they're not looking for it, you're going to feel some fracture in the relationship, and you might feel like, my kid doesn't even care about me anymore, when in all honesty, they're growing up and they're maturing and they're doing the things that they should be doing.
And we're talking about a 26-year-old. So this isn't a 19, right. 20-year-old. Like, these parents clearly are struggling to understand that, right. The child is becoming a full-blown adult. At this point, our brain is fully developed. We are doing our own things. We are creating our own patterns. We are trying to figure our lives out. Right. And for this particular listener, when you're 26 years old, you have to feel a little bit, like you've got this and you can figure these things out. And right. So listening to your body and understanding that it is time to lay down a boundary, because
absolutely.
Your parents' difficulty in accepting that the roles have changed does not mean that it is your responsibility to take on their difficulty and therefore accept however they want to treat you beyond what feels appropriate, because right. A 26-year-old deserves to be treated like an adult. And while all of us learn by making mistakes, and maybe in younger years we might make more mistakes are a part of learning. And I'm sure at 26, there's a lot of successes that you have also made in your life, yes. Where you deserve to have the credit of becoming who you're supposed to be without your parents' constant monitoring.
Absolutely.
And so we would look at this as micromanaging to the nth degree, right? Like, you can draw a boundary here, right. And we can work with you on that. While we're not your therapist, we are therapists. And so hopefully some of these tools we come up with today can help you understand that what you're asking for is not out of question. It's not out of, what we would expect for somebody at 26 years old in their relationship with their parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such a fine line, right? I always say this, there's such a fine line between enabling and empowering our kiddos. And really, each time something pops up, you have to ask yourself, am I doing this from a place of fear, or am I doing this from a place of, just helping my kiddo? I mean, your motive is going to matter, right? I mean, it's almost like this mom is saying, hey, I know you're an adult, but have you considered letting me run your life?
Yes, or even dad giving financial advice and future advice, where it's like, some of that is also, even a parent's ego a little bit of like thinking that you're better or thinking that you have all the answers. And that's not everybody lives their life the same way. So we really have to respect the structure of of your child being able to make their own decisions, and of our listener feeling confident in making their own decisions too. So
it's so hard. It's
some
so
of
scary.
it is also ego.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I mean, we do know a lot more, even though they don't think we do most of the time. We do know, we have a lot more life experience than our kids do, even at 26. But, unless they're coming and asking for advice, I mean, I always say this. I say, you got to stay in your lane. It's their experience. I'm going to repeat that for you guys. Stay in your lane. It's their experience. So if you've got a kiddo that's doing something, they're whatever it is, as a young adult that you don't like, they might be dating somebody you don't care for. They might be, working in a job that you don't feel is healthy for them. Here's what's going to happen. The more you step into their lane and you're critical and tell them what you think is best for them, that's going to begin to fracture your relationship, right? So, and I've learned this for sure with my own kiddos, right? And it's been hard, but it's been healthy for both of us, because I think you can either have a decent connected relationship with a kiddo who's going to do something that you're not real thrilled about, or you can have a fractured relationship and no relationship with a kiddo that's going to still do what they want to be doing at this time in their life. So you kind of get to pick. So I hope that one hits home, right? I mean, I know we're talking a little bit about, codependency and enmeshment, and that's all part of how we can show up for our kids. You really want to stay in your lane and let them have those experiences, because I promise you, they will figure that out on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, as adults, we have had more years on the planet, so we may have more information, but we have zero information about what it feels like to be in their body, in their skin, making their decisions with their perspectives.
Right.
And so the one person, I tell clients all the time, I'm a professional and I work in the field, but you know yourself better than I know you. And so even as a professional, if something feels off in what I'm saying, always go back to listening to yourself, because you are the one in your experience every day. And as parents, I think sometimes we almost have a little bit of possessiveness, I guess, over our children, of like, we want what's best for them. We're looking out for them. We have a higher perspective. Right. But at the end of the day, we can't use that to start enforcing control as if we know what they should be doing at that stage in their life, because they are the expert in their own life. Yes. Even if they have to learn the hard way. My gosh, if I had listened to my parents, the amount of mistakes I wouldn't have made.
Right.
But I had to learn my own way, because experience is a better teacher than words. And for some of us, we got to be really stubborn. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what this 26-year-old caller is doing, but I'm saying that even if as parents that is what you see, let them figure it out on their own, because it is a wiser teacher than just control and blind follow.
Gosh. It is. And I mean, if we go into that control part, again, you're going to fracture that relationship, and that kiddo's going to do what they want to do regardless of what you're telling them. Yeah. So let them experience that, because I think what happens is, unintentionally, right, we rescue, we get in there, we feel better as long as they feel better. But this overall message, underlying message, starts to become, this kiddo starts to feel like, I'm incapable of making decisions.
Which is so sad to put into our kids.
Right. Like, you rescue them, then you swoop in, they have a hard time at school, you swoop in, you call the school, you take care of it. They have to learn these big life events. But if you continue to do those things, these kiddos are going to start to begin to believe about themselves that they're incapable of making healthy choices. They can't do anything without mom or dad's walking along, holding their hand through that. And you do not want that in a kiddo. You are going to start to form some codependency. So let's talk a little bit about codependency and enmeshment. They can go hand in hand. I think for this caller's question, based on what we know, it feels like maybe a little more enmeshment on mom's part. So, codependency is, I'm only okay if you're okay, right? Where you, like, I can carry your backpack, versus enmeshment is, I don't know whose backpack is whose at this point. And I don't feel like our caller is having a codependent response. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be writing us, because it would just be what she knows. It's okay and it's normal for me to have my mom and dad do all the things for me. What are your thoughts on that as far as, distinguishing between codependency and enmeshment?
Yeah, I think you said it backwards. Enmeshment is that, like, I feel responsible for what they feel, and therefore I must take on what they feel. And codependency is, I need to be controlling you to feel good inside of me. So the parents are more codependent to the child, and the child is more enmeshed into the situation, feeling like okay, if this is what my parents are saying, then I must take that on, which is decreasing their ability to set a boundary.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for calling me on that. Every once in a while, guys, I'm going to go sideways on you. So I got Kat here to keep me in line.
Well, you fixed it at the end because you did fix it with the codependency piece and how the child isn't codependent. The child is actually enmeshed.
Yeah, so I'm back. I'm back. Right. Everybody settle down, simmer down.
It's a lot of big words, you know.
It's a lot.
It
is a lot. But here's what I think. I mean, what I'm hearing the caller saying is, I don't love this. I love my parents, but I don't love them calling me several times a day. I don't love them trying to make big decisions or financial decisions for me. And I think that is a really hard thing to say, to really have healthy boundaries and be assertive enough to say, hey guys, I don't like this, right? So when we put boundaries in place, I always say this, people don't like boundaries. And the more upset they get, the more necessary those boundaries are. So what I would say is, she's going to get some kickback to say, we'll help you in a healthy way. You want to say something like, hey guys, I love you. I appreciate you. And we've got two truths here. I'm 26 and I'm capable of making some good decisions and hard decisions. If I need your help, I'll come to you. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to rescue me or think that I need help that I really don't right now.
And in our work, I would say more often, no matter what the age of the child, they can be full-blown adults. It is the child who's experiencing the guilt. And the parent is most often the one creating the blame. If my child this, if my child that. And the child is like, I wish I would have done more of this. I wish I would have done more of that. And so that dynamic is a really interesting one because oftentimes the parent somehow a little bit gets away with not taking accountability and putting it on the child. And somehow as children, we hold it. We're like, yep, okay, it was probably me. It was probably my fault.
Right.
I'm dumber. Yep. I'm younger. I should have known better, whatever. And so a little bit of that is already by nature as children of parents, we feel some form of guilt. And then it makes it like kind of a double down when she's saying or he's saying, when our caller is saying, my parents guilt me. Well, now I'm already holding guilt. Now I'm doubled down on guilt. So that can make setting a boundary even harder. So just a little bit of like awareness and compassion that guilt is not necessarily feeding a truth. Because you feel guilty does not mean that you should be allowing the behavior. Sometimes guilt is by default what happens, especially in a parent-child relationship, and it can be challenged and a boundary can still be needed. Feelings are not facts, and so we have to check them.
They're not?
I wish.
Oh my God.
It'd be so much easier.
Okay, well, that's news. I know I hear that a lot, right, in session. But no, listen, I want to, part of holding that guilt too is, mom saying, okay, I guess, I'm not a great mom or you don't care about me or whatever. And I think codependency can look very much like caring too much, right? Codependent people can be viewed by others as exceptionally caring, super helpful. They're so selfless, right? And the challenge is they're
looking
often
out for you.
Oh my gosh, right?
They're helping you. Right. How can you not want this?
Yes, and if they have that really, solid belief, of course it's going to feel like, I'm so offended that you wouldn't want this, right? But the challenge is that codependent person is often giving from a place of fear, guilt, or even a need for validation rather than just a genuine choice. So, right, like healthy interdependence says, I care about you. Codependence says, I'm responsible for you. So there's a big difference there. But I think part of learning you have to be able to sit in discomfort when you put a boundary in place, because right away you're more than likely going to be made to feel guilty about that. And so being able to sit in that uncomfortability of, this is not a me thing. What do you say? That's an issue, not an ish me.
You say it. Yeah,
I love that so much.
So good.
Yeah, don't say that to your mom and dad. Please don't say that to them. But really, this isn't about you. You are drawing a healthy boundary. They're most likely not going to like that. And so it's going to be consistent boundary setting on your part. And also the message is, I love you and I care about you. And I need some space and to make my own decisions that I'm perfectly capable of. I love you guys. And
it's okay to recognize that your parents are also being caring, but that care can also become control.
Right.
And that, you're an adult child and it's okay for you to say, I'm not up for being told what to do at this point.
Yeah. And I think boundaries, I want to say they aren't walls. Boundaries are proof that someone finally got tired. And so I feel like this 26-year-old, she's saying, I love you guys, but I'm tired of you being in my lane, essentially. I love that phrase, but it's not a wall. Parents might see it as, oh, you're just putting a wall up. It's really just, I love you and I care about you and I love myself enough to make a boundary. And so I can start making my own decisions.
I think that's super important because boundaries are not punishment. They are not rejection.
Yes.
They are not lack of love.
Right.
A boundary is what allows you to stay connected without resentment.
See, and I think for our caller, she's like, yes, that totally makes sense. When her mom listens to this, she's going to be like, well, I think that's a bunch of crap, probably.
Yeah, because the child is saying, I need more independence, and the parent is hearing, after everything we've done for you.
Look at all the things that we've done over the years. For 26 years, we've sacrificed.
Yeah.
And you're just going to cut us off and you don't want our help anymore?
Right. Healthy parents can feel disappointed by a boundary, but unhealthy dynamics make the adult child responsible for fixing that disappointment.
And that's where we really want to be clear for our listener, is you are not responsible to fix your parents' response to this as much as you're going to want to, because it's not going to feel good. It's uncomfortable. How they take it is not your responsibility. Of course, we want to be clear and kind and gentle and loving when we give this message that I no longer need you in that particular place in my life. After if you
or
show
responding
up
in that particular way,
Right.
what I'm looking for is that
Right.
can help parents to kind of know how to steer
big
the
time.
lane.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's, I call it like the sandwich, like even like an Oreo, but it's kind of backwards. I think because I like, what do you like on the Oreo? I mean, I like it all, but I really like the creamy stuff in the middle.
Oh, most people do. It's like the double stuff. No, thank you. I could do
my
like
God.
the less is more.
No,
like the
I like
outside.
the double stuff. So I think of
We
like
can split
the
Oreos.
message is however you want it. Yeah, oh, there we go. We should have a bag in our, let's get some. We'll go after this. No, I think, when you're delivering a message, you want to, kind of put some, maybe it is backwards. It's like a lot of fluff and then the cookie in the middle and then fluff on the outside. So you would say something really clear and kind and compassionate, and then in the middle piece is, this is where I'm going to kind of talk about the tough stuff and how you're impacting me. Yeah. And then you end again with that fluff that this doesn't mean that I don't love you and care about you. This means I'm ready to truly spread my wings and fly and make these decisions on my own. You can hand it to them on a silver platter with a cherry on top, and they may not hear
Accept it. That's
or
right.
accept it in the way that you're intending that. And that's going to be the tough part, right? Is once you say all that, it's up to them and how they make sense of it. You're not responsible for that.
And to stay grounded inside of your truth, that you are not ungrateful. You can be grateful, loving, and respectful and still say no, or make different choices, or limit access, or decline the advice, because it is up to you. You get to make those decisions. And them seeing you as ungrateful is an unwillingness to move their perspective in a way that would create more connection.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I hope mom and dad that you guys can really take that in and not personalize this, right? So, I mean, let's just talk about, like if you're listening to this going, oh my God, like, is that me? Am I codependent? I mean, here's the deal. If someone across town is having a bad day and you're somehow completely exhausted, you might just be a codependent. I mean, some of the common signs of codependencies, difficulty saying no, feeling responsible for other people's feelings or behaviors, putting other people's needs consistently ahead of your own, and really forming and deriving your own self-worth from being needed. You might just be a codependent or have some codependent behaviors. Trying to rescue, fix, or save others, feeling guilty if you're prioritizing yourself, and losing touch with your own wants and feelings or identity. Boy, I think as a parent, this is one place where it's real easy to slide into codependency. It really, really is, because we want what's best for our kids, and sometimes we're clipping their wings, thinking we're doing what's best, but it's not what they need, for sure.
Yeah, when parents give advice, it's important to ask, are we trying to help solve problems or trying to soothe our own discomfort?
Oh, that's where it's at,
Yeah.
right? And so I think if you're thinking, gosh, am I doing this as a parent, a friend, a coworker, partner, whatever it is, start out by asking yourself, what is my motive in this? Why am I...
Oh, wait, why am I talking?
Why am I talking? WAIT, right? And so I think hitting that pause button is going to be super important to see, am I doing this out of place of my own self-comfort, or am I just truly doing it to help somebody out?
And this is sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is true even when someone's setting a boundary, that even for this child, that maturity isn't getting everyone to agree with your boundary. It's holding your boundary even when other people dislike it, because it can feel uncomfortable
for sure.
to speak up to your parents, to set a boundary, and to make it non-negotiable. I'm not asking for you to respect this. I'm just telling you I might not be able to answer every single call. I'll get back to you when I can. And I appreciate your advice. I just would like to make my own decisions. So our takeaways today are going to be, making sure that you understand as a caller that it is okay for you to set boundaries. It is okay to sit in the discomfort of setting those boundaries, that will usually take place in the process of creating change. And a reminder to understand your truth, so that if your parents struggle with responding appropriately, you are not taking on assumed guilt that they are trying to place on you unnecessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I say buckle up, it's going to be maybe not. We don't know how they'll respond, but, if they don't respond in the way that you want it to, just, again, you know what? It's okay to have those boundaries. It's necessary to have those boundaries. I want to make sure that you don't go knee-jerk back into a place of guilt or feeling bad for your parents, okay? You can do this. We're sending you lots of love and hugs and strength, and, healthy relationships, they can happen when we care deeply about the people we love without taking responsibility for their emotions and their lives. So this goes on both sides of the coin for our caller and for her parents. So, hey guys, we hope you found some nuggets of goodness in this episode today. Thanks for being here at the Kitchen Shrink. We're really glad you showed up today. Be kind to yourself and stay connected. We're Kat and Kel, and we're here for you. Real talk, real tools, real life.